Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sportcat's Daily Gazette. How is everyone today? It's a rainy, stormy. Hold on, I'm gonna adjust this. I feel like my audio sucks. All right, well, at any rate, it's a rainy, stormy day. Sportcat coming to you live for the Sportcat Daily Gazette, live from my mom's attic. So, how is everyone? I hope everybody's doing well. Let's see who all we got in the chat here. We got Wendell. Good morning, Wendell. Hello, Denise. How are you today? And then we have Chris. Hello, Chris. How are you today? It is a rainy, crazy day here in the South, and there's all kinds of weather warnings and stuff out there. So you know how it goes. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. There wasn't a whole lot of significant news unless you are ready for World War III. Other than that, let's see here. Let me stop the music from playing. That'll also help. Y'all can't hear it, but I can. All right. Let's see here. Let's go up here. Let's fix this. All right, so I want to thank everybody that is listening to us live on Radio X in Australia. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. And I want to thank Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio for allowing us to come into your ears. We appreciate it. So you can come over and find us live on the Sportcat. You can search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette on YouTube, or you can find us by going to Para Our Normal Guys on YouTube. Para Our Normal Guys with a Z. Yeah, I'm feeling something, Denise. I don't know if it's the air quality or what it is, but I'm feeling something, so I feel your pain. If my voice sounds different, it's because my throat's sore and I just feel weird. I don't know. All right, so this headline it comes to us from Zero Hedge, and I think it's a mistype on the reporter's part. But he says, if everything is going to be okay, why are the U.S. and EU feverishly, that sounds like a word I should be using, preparing for war? And I think he means to say, is everything going to be okay? Why are the U.S. and the EU feverishly preparing for World War III? So thank you, Wendell. I think it could just be the air quality. It's that time of year. Things happen. All right, so this comes to us from Zero Hedge. He says, if there's going to be peace in the Middle East, why has the Pentagon sent 25% of the entire fleet of B-2 stealth bombers to the region? And if there's going to be peace in Europe, why is the European Union telling all their citizens to store up on food and water for a war with Russia? We are being told everything is going to be, quote, okay. But meanwhile, Western officials continue to make moves that indicate that more war is coming. We talked about this last week. There's a $1 billion war machine. When one war ends, they need a way to control population. They need a way to make money. So what do? They start another war. And I think a lot of people were thinking that Trump was going to stop this, but a lot of people are feeling like they've been suckered and that we're going right into World War III. That's just the opinion I hear out there from watching several sites and several things. But then again, other people claim he's playing chess, not checkers. So I don't know. So it's up for debate. According to the Newsweek, the United States has significantly increased its military presence in the Middle East. Well, I reported last week we were sending another whole aircraft carrier group. So yeah, that's true. I'm particularly concerned about the deployment of highly advanced B-2 stealth bombers to the region. And it is being reported at least 5 have been deployed to the island of Diego Garcia. The U.S. military has sent at least 5 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to highly strategic island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. These heavy bombers can obliterate targets within their 25-ton payload per jet. This means that the U.S. deadly fleet of 5 could carry an outstanding 125 tons of bombs. All right. So, if for those of you who do not know, Afghanistan was relentlessly bombed by the U.S. air assets based in Diego Garcia during the invasion of the nation in 2001. And Iraq was relentlessly bombed by U.S. air assets based in Diego Garcia during the invasion of that nation in 2003. Currently, the U.S. only possesses 20 B-2 stealth bombers, and so what that means is 25% of them are now in Diego Garcia. It's being speculated that more of these could be involved in ongoing campaigns to bomb the Houthis in Yemen, but it's important to note that the B-2 bombers would also be ideal for carrying out the sort of bunker-busting strikes that would be necessarily to take out Iran's nuclear program. Okay, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. The bombers present a unique mix of capabilities, particularly their ability to penetrate past dense enemy air defenses and carry out bunker-busting strikes, employing 30,000 pound class GBU 57. I don't know what that means. Massive ordnance. So the big bombs. We do know that President Trump recently delivered a letter to the Iranians that gives them a choice with a very clear deadline. Either the Iranians must make an agreement to end their nuclear program within 2 months, or they will be attacked. And then recently, Trump revealed that he'd send a letter to Tehran demanding a new nuclear agreement within 2 months, or face significant military consequences with negotiations stalled and the deadline looming. The diplomatic window for de-escalation is quickly closing, leaving military action an increasingly likely outcome. And the Iranians have already told us they have no plans to negotiate. So it appears it's just a matter of time before the second option is implemented, which, well, we'll talk about that. The Iranians have already told us that there's no plans. So, yeah, I said that already. If the B-2 bombers start hitting Iran's nuclear facilities, we will officially be at war with Iran. And this journalist goes on to say, I hope that everyone understands the implications of that. Meanwhile, the EU is pushing every household in a 27-nation bloc to prepare an emergency kit in case a direct war with Russia breaks out. EU bureaucrats are pushing this because, well, it is expected that it will be part of their broader preparedness strategy and amid the threat from Russia. And they go on to list items to gather food, water, energy bars, and flashlights. So why does the EU need to prepare a war if Russia is going to be at peace? Because, well, they're trying to negotiate it. The bureaucrats know something the rest of us don't. Well, limited agreements between Russia and Ukraine have just failed. Ukrainians have launched more strikes against the Russians' energy infrastructure, and the Russians keep sending waves of drone attacks at Ukrainian cities. Overnight, Russia said it had taken down 9 drones, including 2 over the Black Sea. It also said that Ukraine tried to attack a gas storage facility in Russia-occupied Crimea, and energy infrastructure in Russia's Kursk and Bryansk regions. And Ukraine, of course, denied that. Ukraine military reported that 117 drone attacks overnight. Local officials said the city of Kira had been hit in the biggest drone strike yet. Hopefully both sides will come to their senses, because this is our one shot at peace. If negotiations ultimately fail, it is inevitable that both sides will escalate, and then NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is warning that attack on Poland or any other NATO member will be met with full force of their fierce alliance. That's NATO. That's everybody. That's everybody but China, Iran, and Russia. Oh, boy. So they've issued a warning to Putin stating that any attack on Poland or other NATO members would be met with a devastating response. If anyone were to miscalculate and think they're going to get away with an attack on Poland or any other ally, they will be met with the full force of this fierce alliance. Our reaction will be devastating, he declared in Warsaw. This has to be clear to Vladimir Putin and anyone else who wants to attack us. So, is he expecting someone to attack us? Well, ominously, good Lord, we are being told that U.S. soldiers were just found dead near the Lithuania border with Belarus. And that was kind of an underreported story, but 4 U.S. soldiers have reportedly been found dead in Lithuania after going missing during a training mission exercise. The search operation was launched, and they tracked the vehicle they were traveling in, and it disappeared around 4:45 yesterday. The embassy in I'm going to fail at this one. Vilnius has yet to confirm the deaths after releasing a statement, confirmed that only 4 soldiers were missing, but speaking to reporters while visiting Warsaw, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said, "While I was speaking with the news about the 4 Americans who were killed in an incident in Lithuania, he confirmed he had no other details. The search involving Lithuania and U.S. assets has identified a possible location." And supposedly, they're saying that their Jeep was overtaken in basically quicksand and that it's going to take a major effort to get them out. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's one article I read, and I don't know if there's any truth to that at all. So, but it's our government. So, and this is a very alarming incident, and we're going to learn more details. Hopefully, they say so. Zelensky has predicted that the Russian President Putin will die soon as he discussed the war in Ukraine. Yes, he just did that, and then 2 days later, or within 48 hours, one of his limos exploded. So that was kind of interesting. And why would one leader say another one's going to die? That goes against all the treaties of war. Well, Putin has been experiencing health problems, but if he does die soon, the Russians will remember what Zelensky said. At that point, it would be exceedingly difficult to convince the Russians that nothing nefarious was going on. Remember, we talked about there was, hey, KG, welcome. We talked about there was a mysterious bug going around through Russia that had an unknown origin. So this decision will make global leaders over the next several months see if they're going to alter the course of human history. So, yeah. About that. We don't know, but it seems as though we're sending a bunch of people over there. Why do I keep hitting that button? They're sending a bunch of people over there, and it seems as though we're going to, well, go to war. So, all right, Iran has rejected the talks. We just talked about that. Threatens bombing as never seen. Iran rejected talks with the U.S. on Sunday as President Donald Trump threatened to bomb the country as never seen before to prevent terror-supporting state from becoming a nuclear-armed power. Trump said in early March that he had sent a letter to the so-called Islamic Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei proposing direct talks over their nuclear program in order to prevent a military confrontation. After Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen continue to launch missiles at Israel, as well as the U.S. Navy and international shipping in the Red Sea, Trump said that Iran would be held directly responsible for its proxies. The AP reported that Iran had rejected his offer and that he is threatening bombing in return. Iran's President Sunday, this is overnight in Iran, that the Islamic Republic rejected direct negotiations with the United States over its rapidly advancing nuclear program, offering Tehran's first response to President Trump's letter to the Supreme Leader. President, I can't pronounce, Assad Pezeshkian in Iran delivered the message of Sultanate of Oman, left open the possibility of indirect negotiations. Okay, well, who are we going to talk to indirectly? Russia? The White House, the State Department, and other officials offered no immediate reaction to the announcement. Trump said before other comments considering military options and secondary tariffs. He was saying that today. They don't make a deal, we will be bombing, and it will be the bombings the likes of which they have never seen, Trump said in a comment aired Sunday on NBC. Iran has no effective air defenses after they were largely destroyed by Israel in retaliation for ballistic missiles attacks last year. Iran is possibly gambling that Trump would not dare follow through on his recent threats of attack. Well, if I was a betting man, I would not bet against him. So, yeah. And then I pulled this up here just for giggles to show this is the region. Close. How do I close that? I don't know. This is the region of the world we're talking about. This little section here is where Ukraine, Russia is, and we're seeing that it's going to extend. This is Israel down here. And of course, we know that they're at war right now. So this is going to extend further than this area. There's no way that we can continue this rhetoric and not have some kind of attack. And if you look, in this area is basically plagued with different wars over the years and still continues to be. So, I mean, there was just, what is this? Ukrainian air defenses has shot down 57 drones. We see the bombings. If you zoom in close, you can see all the attacks that they're reporting and fighting. But yeah, this is going to go on for a while. So, and then if we move over to Iran, we see the things going on over here. We've got the planes coming in to Qatar, and then we have other things going on in Iran, and their Atomic Energy Organization Planning Affairs Units 2 and 3 are beginning to gather electricity. So they're working on it, but this region of the world is going to be a mess and a nightmare. So let's hope that the president can get it all under control. During a phone call with his Iranian counterpart, Egyptian president affirmed his commitment to de-escalating the tensions in the region, ensuring stability and security for all of its people. Well, let's hope that that's the case. Iranian Foreign Minister defeat cannot be imposed on Yemen's through attack and aggression, and has become clear. That was from the Iranian foreign minister. So maybe we're going to use Egypt as our middleman. I don't know. We'll see. And Khomeini is warning a strong response if Iran attacked. Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini warned Monday that if a forceful retaliation, the United States bombs the Islamic Republic following the threat from Trump, they threatened to do, quote, mischief. Okay. During a speech on the holiday marking the end of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan. If it is carried out, they will receive a strong counterattack. In an interview Saturday, Trump had said there will be bombing. We know about that. The language is sharpening because of the comments in Tehran refusing to negotiate, although they're leaving the possibility open for talking to somebody else. So maybe it's Egypt. A statement on Monday said the foreign ministry summoned the chargé d'affaires of the Swiss embassy, which represents the U.S. interest in Iran, following the threats. The Americans have at least 10 bases in the region around Iran and 50,000 troops, warned General Azmi Hazid, commander of the aerospace force of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Someone who is a classroom shouldn't throw stones at anyone. The man in charge of Iran's ballistic missile program threatened on state television Monday, which was overnight last night. So, yeah. So they're wanting to go through an indirect channel for negotiations because they're refusing direct talks with our president. So we'll see if that works out. It seems as though it will be Egypt, but we don't really know. Maybe they say here we have been informed by our friends in Oman that the letter has reached its destination, and they're talking about a letter that was sent to Qatar and to Egypt. So let's hope, because otherwise, that's coming to us from Breitbart. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun times over there, or fun times for us. So this article, it's a New York Times. This is from Zero Hedge. And they talk about the secret history detailing U.S. shocking involvement in the Ukrainian war. And this came out this morning early, and they're saying that they're going over a report from the New York Times revealing basically we were playing in there. Chris says, has a world leader ever threatened in half-assed responsive attack, just maybe throw people off his real intentions? Well, I'm pretty sure that President Obama gave them a, quote, red line, and they passed it. I'm not sure what the response was. It was probably an inappropriate response, is the way they talk about things. But the New York Times has went in and done a good investigation. I'm not going to read the whole things here, but it does show that we did have 12 secret spy bases in Ukraine, and we were embedded with the military at the intelligence level, and that, well, we were the secret weapon. It goes on to talking about if you read the whole piece here, this is from Zero Hedge. It's a good article. But basically they're saying Americans were overseeing the war at the beginning, and that the CIA/Pentagon was in charge of it. And pretty much they go on to say that all those conspiracy theories that people were talking about, well, turns out they may not actually have been conspiracy theories. There may have been Americans doing things over there they shouldn't have been doing, and that was not good. So get a chance, check out this article, because I'm not gonna read the whole thing, because you have to read the Times article and this article and do a little going back and forth. But it really does point out that basically a lot of the people were right when they were saying things that people were going, oh, you're crazy, this will never happen. Well, apparently we were wrong. How did I get that up? I don't know how I got that up. Go back. Before we get into our other real stuff, we'll say Trump has said he won't fight. Hopefully this is the last of Signalgate. I'm tired of talking about it. President Trump said that he had no intentions to fire anyone in his cabinet after a journalist was accidentally added to a Signal group chat. And I heard a theory this morning, and I don't know, but they're saying there's technology. If you have your phone turned onto a certain thing, that you could get contacts from other person's phones onto yours. But I don't know. Chris says, but once again, when the truth comes out, the only response will be, oh, well, President Trump, gosh, I keep pushing this button for this picture. President Trump had said in his previous presidency that he didn't want war and that we would try and prevent war. And, well, Russia also told him they didn't want some of those things on their border. And apparently, well, before he got out, he was not able to pull them. And then President Biden did. So at any rate, getting back to the Signalgate, there was some theory going around that if one person is near another person and their phone is turned on a certain way, that you can share contacts. I don't know that that's possible, but that's the new thing going on, saying it could have been inadvertently put on his phone that way. But the reporter that did this article we reported last week was added to the group, which was on Signal. What was it called? Houthi PC small group. So they're saying that it appears to be authentic, and Trump is saying it's just like a witch hunt and fake news, like you talk about all the time. It's just a witch hunt and shouldn't be talked about. Well, I don't know that we should be using Signal. So, but he is not going to fire anyone. And he says he continues to have confidence in his national security team. So that's President Trump saying Monday morning today at 10:25 a.m. that he's not going to fire anyone. And then we'll go on over here. On the 30th, Trump is not ruling out military force to take Greenland. This is crazy. The Danish foreign minister on Saturday scolded Trump administration for its tone criticizing Denmark and Greenland, saying the country is already investing more in the Arctic security and remains open to cooperation with the U.S. The foreign minister made the remarks in a video posted on social media after President Vance's visit to the region. So, and thank you. So basically, we have threatened Denmark, saying we'll take Greenland by force if we have to. I don't know. This is a world peace. This is an international security. He added, I don't take anything off the table. Trump also said, I don't care, when asked by an NBC interview if it would send Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is trying to solidify his hold on Ukrainian territories 3 years after the invasion. Vance on Friday said Denmark has underinvested in Greenland security and demanded that Denmark change its approach as Trump pushes to take over the Danish territory. Vance visited U.S. troops on the space base on the mineral-rich Greenland alongside his wife and other senior officials for a trip that was ultimately scaled back after an uproar of Greenlanders and Danes who were consulted about the original itinerary. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You've not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvestigated in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And then Trump posted a video on his social network, True Social. America stands with Greenland, showing footage of U.S. troops there during World War II. Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of it was a weird video. So on Thursday, Greenlandic lawmakers had agreed to form a new government, banding together to resist Trump's overture. Four of the five parties elected to Greenland's parliament earlier this month have agreed to form a coalition that will have 23 of the 31 seats in the legislature. So hundreds of protesters demonstrated Saturday outside the U.S. Embassy in the Danish capital, Copenhagen, and some lifting some signs saying, "Back off USA." So, yeah, I don't know. What are we going to do? Are we going to, we wanted this since apparently 1951 from other reports I've read. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. This story comes to us from Breitbart, and it talks about, well, now the coyotes are smuggling migrants out of the United States. So we're going the other way. A growing number of legal immigrants are smuggling themselves out of the U.S. to avoid legal penalties of the government deportation, according to multiple witnesses. And this reporter says, "I've been a journalist for more than 25 years, but I never thought I would see this." An American journal in Texas and Mexico says that coyotes are now offering packages where migrant people can go back home if you want to come home, or if you want to come back to Honduras, or maybe you don't want to go back to Honduras because it's too dangerous, or you want to go to Guatemala, but maybe you want to go to Costa Rica. So they're offering these smuggling packages where you can go back home. Yeah, not all of them obviously are taking it. If the migrants are deported by the United States, they're separated from their families and detained in crowded jails, sometimes for weeks. Once legally deported, migrants cannot visit for 10 years or longer, even when their relatives remain in the U.S. They also lose possessions and easy access to their bank accounts. Haitians are self-deporting right now because if they don't want the worst thing, because the government does send them back to Haiti immediately. So many Haitians had moved to Albertville. I'm not sure where that is. Once held by the Americans in the chicken slaughterhouses. They got work permits from Biden deputies, but now are losing them to Trump's pro-American policies. This self-deporting industry with coyotes, it has become a multi-million-dollar industry over here now. You've got these guys that are going from Indiana, from Alabama in these vans where they're smuggling people to New Mexico, to border states. Wow. They are making a ton of money. If they go deposit money at a bank, it's going to raise a red flag. You know, I had a gentleman a couple of days ago trying to buy a car with cash, straight cash. He just said, don't know what to do with it because he has a lot of cash from his shuttle industry. Interesting. We actually had this right around the corner from one of our fire stations, and it was an ongoing thing. And the forces that investigate these type things would frequently use our firehouse to spy on them. Chris says coyotes are always looking for new revenue streams, just like the military industrial complex. Yes. And this was a well-known spot right around the corner from a fire station, and they never did a thing for years. So smugglers are charging $10,000 per head because a lot of people that are working are saving their money. So that's another problem with our economy with this. They're saving it as cash. They're not reinvesting it in banks to go back into the system. So, yes, this article is absolutely 100% correct. The coyotes are taking advantage of the population that came here illegally and getting them out illegally. So, yeah, that's not good. But unfortunately, it is the current time we live in. This has been a question everybody's been going off about. We hear about all the time. Egg prices are plummeting after the Trump administration implements a 5-point plan. Egg prices have significantly declined, so President Trump took office in January and put in his 5-point plan, targeting the key causes of the spike. Prices for eggs dropped 63% last month, with the average wholesale price of a dozen aged eggs hovering around $3, according to Axios. In the White House press release sent to the Daily Wire, the administration credited the decline to recent efforts to combat the avian flu and repopulate the chicken supply. United States Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins laid out their 5-point plans. Under Biden, egg prices increased by 237%. We never heard anyone in the mainstream media talking about it. But the day that Trump gets elected, January 20th, suddenly it's his fault that egg prices have increased. You can't argue with that. The headlines were there. You can go back and look. About a week after I was sworn in, we launched a very significant 5-point plan. It included deregulation to bring costs down for our chicken farmers. It included more quickly repopulating those populations affected with the avian flu. It also included biodiversity measures, importing eggs from other countries for short terms to get those prices down. And the 5th point, which was most significant, therapeutics, vaccine, and culling. So the secretary added that the market almost immediately reacted when he implemented the plan a month ago, and they're being fearless and trying to fix things in a major way, and that they are working hard to do so. And we've talked about they're bringing in eggs from, Brazil, Italy. I forget the other countries, but it's crazy. So that's part of the 5-point plan. We'll cover some of the rest of this stuff as we get time, because this stuff is not as important. It's getting into entertainment, and I mean, there's some things in here, but we'll cover that after we do our bread and butter stuff, which we always do. So let me find it here. We are doing FEMA. It took them a while, but they did get the daily operations briefing out. For those of you that are new to my channel, this is what I started it on, but it kind of went a little bit into the news region because, well, you can't have what's going on in the world without a little bit of news. So, and my show is basically not like the other shows who are telling you we're going to die tomorrow. I'm telling you how we're going to live another day because the grown-ups are in charge. And I say grown-ups by politicians, and it doesn't matter. They're what they got behind their name. So it could be an R or D. So, all right. So this is the FEMA daily operations briefing. This is the same one that's included with the president's daily briefing, only we don't get the secret squirrel stuff. I want the secret squirrel stuff. So if anybody gets it, please shoot it my way. All right. So the national current things they're monitoring, well, us. There's severe weather in the central and eastern United States, going from the Gulf to the mid-Atlantic, and then there's heavy snow in the Sierra Nevadas. So yeah, there's some pretty severe weather. We had thunder boomers overnight, and there were several tornado warnings issued north of us and west of us. So this goes into greater detail, talking about the impacts on power outages in Michigan, Indiana, and Wisconsin, and how that the other areas, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, the emergency operations centers are all monitoring the weather, and they are prepared in the West for ice storms. So, but yeah, this is the primary area of concern here. If you look, it goes pretty much from the Gulf of America down to the Texas-Louisiana border, straight up to the Great Lakes and east, where the significant weather is going to be today, and possibilities for some violent outbreaks of weather. They get into the fire summer, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And they're saying that it's still only partially contained in North Carolina and South Carolina by 37% in one. So the national forecast, well, as we talked about, there's going to be severe weather pretty much from Louisiana to New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey line, going straight up the country there to the mid-Atlantic and eastward. So we're going to expect anything from hail to snow to, well, not snow, but freezing rain to a mess. My son in Vermont got like 4 inches of snow, and it's still snowing. So, and there's a freezing rain mix up there right now. Over on the West Coast, rains are coming in from Seattle down to pretty much the coastline of the Pacific to New Mexico. And any higher elevations, it's snow or mixed precipitation going pretty much midway across the country and as far east as South Dakota. So they're saying that tomorrow that is going to grow. It's going to merge with a front in the Gulf of America, Any severe weather will start again, impacting Tornado Alley from Texas to Michigan and eastward. By Wednesday, it's going to be pretty bad. So today, the severe weather outlook: higher elevation snow, freezing rain on the west, pretty much as we talked about. If you're in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, North, South Carolina, even parts of Virginia, Maryland, up in the DC region, could get some severe weather. And then Tuesday, that area we talked about from Texas to pretty much Michigan up there is going to be, it's going to be chance of some bad stuff going on, but the impact is really going to be on Wednesday. So the Midwest and the Southeast need to be paying attention. The precipitation, excess rainfall, well, they're saying that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretty much the Mid-Atlantic in the Southeast, we're going to get drenched. I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that'll help with some of the fires in the Carolinas, but I don't know. They did issue a statement today in Tennessee that the burn ban has been lifted. Oh, that's good news because it's thunderstorming. So great. Good times. The fire weather outlook today is primarily for New Mexico. Tomorrow it's New Mexico, part of Texas, up into the Mid-Atlantic, where they're saying it could be extreme. This talks about what they're concerned about and what bases are operating. And of course, we know that they are working still to improve and repopulate areas that were not only affected by the hurricane, had a small earthquake and a tornado. So those poor people, I feel so sorry for them. And otherwise, that is pretty much their daily report. From there, we always check in and see what our fearless leader is doing, President Donald J. Trump. And we see that he was out of town on Sunday, but he came back in. Let's see. Let me go down here. We'll go backwards. He came back in at about 8 p.m. last night. So he had been spending the day in his Mar-a-Lago golf tournament and his home there. So he came back last night around 8. Typical 9 a.m. press in-pool camera time. 11:06, they were to have a press office lunch, and then they were putting a lid on it at noon. I don't know why. And at 1 o'clock, in a closed press right now, the president is signing executive orders. And again tonight, an open press at 5:30, he will be signing executive orders. So maybe at 5:30 tonight, we'll find out what some of these are, and we'll find out what he has on his mind. Good Lord. All right, so we'll jump into the weather a little more here. And for our friends down in Australia, let's see what it's doing down there. We are sorry that you have to put up with so much of our stuff, but let's see what's going on down there. Then we'll move up north here. All right, so as usual, you have some storms along the Queensland border there with the ocean. And pretty much all the coastlines are some storms, but Northern Territory is right at South Australia, some light rain. It's going to be a warm one today if you're on the coast of Carvan in the 80s. But pretty much from there over to the east, it's going to be in the 60s and 70s. So that's good news. And the rain is particularly going to affect the Northern Territory. Pretty much the center of the territory, straight north, with a little bit of midline shift to the west, but east. So over towards McKay and Rockhampton, and we know they're still recovering from the cyclone. So where they had such horrible weather. We'll hop over here to the U.S. We'll briefly look at, this is the precipitation. We see that it's going from the Gulf of America, New Orleans, all the way extending up to the tip of West Virginia. Pretty much us in the East Tennessee region are getting some thunder boomers, and that's anticipated to continue across the East Coast. And I can tell you, it was thundering like crazy out there. And our temperatures across the country, in the deep South, it's going to be in the 80s and 70s. Tampa, 83. Over on the West Coast, it's going to be a bit chillier, from Seattle being 48 and dropping down southward. San Diego is going to be 60. So that's a big difference. Higher elevations, it's going to be 37. Even higher elevations near freezing. Denver is reporting 51. Louisville, 51. And up in Vermont, currently, they're saying that it is about 36 degrees. So it's just a freezing mix up there for them at the moment. Interesting. All right. We brought up the radar and we see that the nasty bad stuff is, well, it's currently over my house in Atlanta, but it will continue to strengthen and go eastward. Let's see here. All right, so that's enough of that one. We talked about the forecast map. It basically looks ugly for the southeast all the way up to the mid-Atlantic. On the coastline there are the Outer Banks as well. Possibility for some severe thunderstorms. So please be weather aware. Have a flashlight, have a radio, and be ready to seek shelter if you have a tornado warning. The difference between a warning and a watch is conditions are possible. A warning is shit's getting real. So you need to seek shelter and listen to the local meteorologist telling you the direction of travel. This is the GEMA map. I bring this up because it shows us all the warnings. We see the fire warnings here, pretty much all of New Mexico and the tip of Texas there. And then we see over here in the south, well, we've got everything from severe thunderstorm warnings to it could be tornado warnings further south down the Alabama-Georgia line and getting down into the Gulf of America. They're getting flood warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, rip current warnings. So over in Louisiana, they're having flood warnings. So we'll look at all the warnings here in just a second, but that's how it's broken down closer to us. We'll pull up this map, which I love this new map that I found. This is the lightning map. It shows where the most severe stuff is. You see it is just to the south of Knoxville. It's pretty much running the Appalachian Mountains and going down into Atlanta, Alabama, and then the Pensacola, Mobile, part of Gulf of America, and it will be continuing to go eastward. So it looks to be a pretty dramatic storm, and currently it looks as though Atlanta is the area, not country. Atlanta is a country. No, it's not. It's a city. Is taking the brunt of it with, what is this down here? Dothan and Tallahassee also having some impacts by the lightning. So, all right. We can't forget our friends in New Orleans, and anyone that is out here on an oil rig, they should seek shelter. I always wanted to work on an oil rig. I thought that would be fun, but I never got a chance to. I've done everything else. I don't know why I didn't, but all right. I'm going to refresh this real quickly to make sure we're up to date. This is the United States power outage map. Georgia is currently having 26,000 people. It's primarily affecting Heard and Coweta counties. I anticipate that will move eastward here in just a bit. And then we see up here, Indiana has 41,000 people out without power. It's pretty much near the northern sector of Indiana where they're having those problems. And of course, we talked about Michigan and Wisconsin. They are both without power. Michigan, 302,000 are without power. In Wisconsin, 48,000 people are without power. And as those storms continue eastward, I anticipate these to increase. And this is brought to us from poweroutages.us. It's open source, so you're free to check it out. Let's refresh this one. And let's make it larger. What? No, that's not what I want to do. What are you doing? All right, close that. All right, so let's bring this full screen here. Alabama, Florida, under severe thunderstorm warning. South Dakota, you're under a winter storm watch. These are the most current watches. Georgia has a special weather statement. Well, that's pretty much because the severe thunderstorms that you're under now for pretty much all of Atlanta metro area, northeast and northwest Georgia. Flood watch for Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri. And what do we got here, Chris? Andy's testing again. Why does Andy keep testing? So we go back into more warnings for Georgia, and then they get down into the coastal areas where there are riptides. And let's see, 12 minutes left in this. There's a tornado warning. This is Dothan and extending to the north, east, and west, almost all the way over. We saw the lightning to the Georgia state line. So if you're in that area, seek shelter immediately. There is a tornado on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. Let's see here. And this one is a severe thunderstorm warning, avalanche watch in Colorado. All right, well, let's pull that up real quick since we don't see those that often. In the Gore and Elk Mountain, Central Mountain Valleys, the following message has been transmitted to the residents of Colorado. A avalanche warning or avalanche watch is in effect until 5 p.m. Tuesday. Dangerous avalanche conditions develop on Tuesday morning and last through the early day. High snowfall rates and strong winds will create dangerous avalanche conditions by Tuesday morning, affecting large areas. It could be dangerous avalanches, which will be easy to trigger once the new snow accumulates, and they will run naturally in Pritchett. Okay, interesting. Well, if you're in Colorado, my friend in Colorado, please be advised that for the next 3 days, you're under an avalanche watch. And if you're in Colorado, you also have a high wind watch. So the conditions are getting right for it. Great, good times. Montana, winter storm warning. We talked about that. That's pretty much extending from the West Coast east, right along the Canadian border. Wisconsin flood warning. That's from the freezing rain and sludge you will be receiving later today. Snow at higher elevations. Let's see. And along the Alabama-Florida coastline, they have a rip current. And then this gets back into the thunderstorm watches and the other ones we talked about. All right. This is, as I said, weather warning. I endorse the site, but I don't get any money or anything from it because I think this is a great site. And Andy just sent out a new test message. So, Chris, there you go. It also shows detailed activity of where this stuff is, including the line of storms. So this is a great site. It has a wind map, but guess what? I got a better one we're going to show here in a minute. And it's showing that there's a 5% chance pretty much at the Alabama and Georgia state line, right across Georgia, the heart of Georgia, in the Peach State, extending into South Carolina, almost to North Carolina, with some possibilities. They're saying 5% possibility of tornadic activity. So if you're in those areas, make sure you have a weather radio, flashlight, and you're ready to seek shelter according to the National Weather Service at any moment. All right, so our air quality, I'm going to disagree with this one. I'm going to disagree heavily with this one because of the pollen and stuff in the air. I think that should be more important, but this map doesn't factor that in. But we see that the air quality is horrible right down in Texas, Corpus Christi, pretty much the coastline of Texas, all the way up to Houston, to Louisiana, and back westward all the way across the Mexican border into, what was that, Ojego? Pretty much the entire border of Texas has got some moderate air conditions. And Chris says, multiple test messages means he's up to something. I need to turn the radio on and check on him. I haven't talked to him in a while. If you're in New Mexico, pretty much the center of the state is got poor air quality. Tucson, you've got poor air quality. And if you're out in the desert just south of Phoenix in the Sonora Desert, I'm going to guess that is a dust storm. That's just a guess. I don't know, but interesting. That's the San Francisco Plateau. If you're southeast of the San Francisco Plateau, your air quality is not going to be good. Chris, you're looking pretty good up there. Pretty much all the mid-Atlantic states are, till you get over to Pennsylvania, more along, well, that's pretty much from the center of the state, Harrisburg to Scranton, down to Allentown, and then all the way across Jersey and New York. Denise, your air quality up there is not very good today. So if you need to go out, you might want to consider that to take a mask. And I don't usually say that, but let's see, what area is this? Hold on. This is in Elizabeth, New Jersey. They're saying that the air there is exceedingly unhealthy for people who are going outdoors. I disagree with this map because I think pretty much along the Appalachian Mountains, south, it's horrible because of the allergies and pollen, but I can't argue with them. So this is this pretty much the same thing, just in different form. Let me make it larger. This is showing. Gosh, why do I keep hitting that button? Should know better. This shows the current air quality as of noon today, and it's pretty much the areas we talked about in the forecast. The only areas changing would be pretty much Georgia in Florida, but I don't know that I believe that. New Jersey is the highest, northeastern urban, Laredo, Texas, following Albuquerque, Des Moines, Elko, Nevada, Phoenix, El Paso, Nogales, Arizona, and the New York regional area. Those are pretty much the worst air quality areas in the country right now. And this map is from the courtesy of the Weather Channel. And this tells us tree pollen map. And it shows pretty much Tennessee and the Carolinas in orange and red. Southward, it's red to orange. It's pretty much horrible right now. Only good thing about the storms is it settles the pollen down, so it's not as bad. But then you have to worry about mold. So good. It's great here in the South during this season. But it'll pass soon. It'll be in the summer, and it'll be much better. Pretty much where the warmer temperatures are creeping up from the equator upward is where the areas are worse, with the mid-central Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas area being the worst. And I think that pretty much Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama should be the same, but they say that it's not quite as bad there yet. We'll pull up the grass pollen map. Pretty much the same. Nothing new, nothing to see there. Let's see here. I want to go down to this one. This is the aches and pains map. And if you're in the Midwest to the Northwest, they're saying your aches and pain index is higher, with it being lower in the South. I kind of disagree. Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic or the Atlantic coastline of the Carolinas is going to be moderate for aches and pains. I think that could be moved over a little bit. No, thanks. I don't want to do that. What was I going to look at? Breathing index. This one doesn't. This one shows the areas being as very good. I disagree. But you can go to the Weather Channel, pull your area up. I disagree because it sucks out there right now. It's horrible. I can't wait for it to pass. All right, so we'll get into talking about wildfires. And I have more than one map, but this one, apparently Ginger sees a cow. I discovered that Ginger does not like cows. I don't know why. Maybe it's because she can't herd them, being a border collie. I don't know, but she does not like cows. Who knew? All right, so we see this shows all the fires burning, and we see pretty much Oklahoma. Gosh, you guys are getting it horrible. Your smoke is drifting to the northeast, affecting pretty much anywhere from Kansas City, Jefferson City, St. Louis, almost to Chicago. So, Chris, you might have some areas of some smoke. The fires further south, their smoke is pretty much covering Mississippi, Louisiana, and central Texas, all the way to the coastline, with some pretty poor air quality due to the smoke. So there is this travel map, and we'll pull up the wind map here in a minute. You'll see a little bit better where it's moving to and fro. But I'd like to use that map so that you see where the smoke is, since the NASA map, which I really like, does not show that. It just shows the fires. You see Oklahoma is getting a little bit better, but they still have a major fires in just west of Tulsa. I'm sorry, southwest of Tulsa. And then they have the other one down northeast of Oklahoma City. Here in the Carolinas, well, that area is still burning pretty well at the Tennessee, Georgia, Carolina border in the Appalachian Mountains and extending eastward. So those fires, I just got some reports a little while ago. Chris, I did not correlate that. Maybe she doesn't like the fire map either. Shows him a fireman. I don't know. So those areas along the Appalachian Mountains are working fires, and they are working to quell them. But right now, with the rain and lightning, I assume they are not. The little red dots report that the satellites have sensed something, but there's no boots on the ground to confirm it, because it would turn orange if there were. Down in Florida, we see that Fernandez and West Canaveral, they're still working to contain those blazes. And it looks as though, let's see, 900,000 acres in Cape Canaveral. And it doesn't say how much it is. I don't see a percentage of containment. So be weather aware down in there. And these storms with the lightning that we've shown that was pretty much in the area of where this is, the storms can create more forest fires with the lightning. So if you're in those areas, you probably already know this. You should seek shelter. If your local meteorologist or government tells you that there is some bad weather or a fire nearby. This is just the United States wind map. I use this for reference with the highest speed right now being 28 miles per hour. That's probably pretty much right in the center of the country. But we see most of the winds are coming from the Gulf of America, extending up to Canada and eastward, with the Pacific winds pulling in just slightly. But the turbulence over the Rocky Mountains is meeting up with the warm Gulf of America air. So there is your U.S. map. We'll pull up the other one here in a few minutes. But I'd like to show this one because it gives speeds. But let's just go ahead and, for those of you, we're at the top of the hour, so it would be a good time to talk. I want to thank everybody at Australia, Radio X, for listening. I have one more hour. This is the Sportcat Daily Gazette. We do a lot of graphics and talk about it, and I hope that I'm verbal enough describing it to you so you can see it visually. But in case you want to come over, which I encourage you to do, come over to YouTube and search out. I use the name of my Wednesday night show as my main YouTube channel, Para R Normal, and it's all three words, Para R Normal, and then guys, and I spell guys plural with a Z. Please come over, like, follow, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Jurgs at jurgsradio.com and Rainbow Radio, I appreciate your support as well for allowing us to tickle your fans' ears and give our opinions. And Jurgs is also doing, it's hard for me to break that habit. He's a friend, but he's got a trademark there. Jurgs is doing a new show following mine. If anybody wants to tune in, it's a summary of day's events. It's about an hour-long show, and it's also going to be on Radio Australia. You can catch it once I go off the air by going to jurgsradio.com, YERGZ, or the Rainbow Radio Network. You can search that out with Jurgs. All right, so if you're listening, this is the fan favorite. This is the AI globe with the winds current and showing the conditions that they are on our big blue globe. We'll zoom in on the United States. It's pretty much as we discussed. This is just a better visual of it. You see that the circulation from the Gulf of America is really coming from pretty much the North Atlantic, where it's coming down, and it's going across the mid-Atlantic region up in the Northeast is getting it from the coastline. But there's very little wind coming in from the Pacific. It's pretty much hitting the Rocky Mountains, causing some turbulence and then causing it to go northwest. We'll stream to down under in Australia and look at your winds right now. And it looks like, we'll have to investigate this. I did not see there is a strong front to the west of, to the east of, what is that? Brisbane? No, Brisbane's further northeast. So there's some strong winds coming along the coastline, the Gold Coastline. It's kind of hugging the curve, but that's a very tightly formed pattern down there. We need to investigate that on one of our other maps and find out if there's some cyclonic activity that would be southwestern Australia in the coastline. So, but we see there the winds otherwise are remarkably mild across Australia because it's all coming off of the southwest. So, except for that one area of circulation right there, which I really wish we could get a name to see if it's got a cyclonic name yet. My watch is going crazy because we're under severe thunderstorm warnings. Yeah, we need to check on that because that's got a pretty tight formation there. It doesn't have a name to it yet, but I want to bet that that's some cyclonic activity that looks like it may affect you. So keep an eye out in Australia for that. That's a pretty tightly formed area of wind to your southwest. Let's see here. For our friends that don't believe in a round Earth, I'll make this flat so you can see the entire globe in one visual image. You see that one cyclonic activity down south, and it looks pretty calm in the Atlantic and Pacific regions. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that in Australia because that is certainly, it looks to be an area of concern. So, all right, we'll bring this next map close. Thank you. I'll bring this next map up, and this just shows us real-time satellite of the cloud formation around the globe. You can also see the day-night formation. I just updated there. So when it updated, it showed exactly what we were talking about, the winds pulling from the Gulf of America up to the mid-Atlantic out over the northeast there. I like this because it shows the cloud cover. You can see the day-night satellite images, and you get an idea of what it looks like cloud cover-wise everywhere else. Australia, it's a cloudy day in Australia. Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, those are the areas that are probably going to be affected more. The area doesn't appear in this image to be as tightly formed, but it was pretty tightly formed there to the west of Melbourne. So yeah, keep an eye on that, Sydney and Melbourne. That could be dangerous. So that cyclonic, it looked like cyclonic activity. So, all right. So I don't have a measles map because it hasn't been updated, but this story comes to us from NPR, and it tells us that as measles cases are rising, parents are becoming vaccine enthusiasts. Well, that's a good idea. As the outbreak in the West Texas and New Mexico continues to grow, other states are reporting their own outbreaks. Some pediatricians across the U.S. are seeing a new trend among concerned parents and vaccine enthusiasm. Our call center was inundated with calls about MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, says Dr. Shannon Fox Levine, a pediatrician in Broward County. She says parents are asking if their child is up to date on their vaccinations or if they should get another one. Should they get an extra one? And can they get it early? All right. Well, it's spreading quickly in communities where vaccine rates are low, and vaccine hesitancy has been on the rise across the U.S. in recent years. Kindergarten vaccinations had bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. The MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella, is a refreshing change in a state where vaccine hesitancy has been growing. Florida's vaccine rates to protect against measles fell to 88.1 in the 2023-2024 school year, below 95% vaccine rate considered necessary to protect against outbreaks. So seeing a demand is very exciting. 5 states are currently experiencing the outbreak. We know that's Texas, New Mexico, and Kansas. Oklahoma are also included in there, and there have been some cases reported in other states as well. We talked about that last week. So it's good to see parents are concerned and they're getting a vaccine. I had mine so long ago, I don't even remember when I became a paramedic. They send you through a line where they give you about 50 more. When you become a flight paramedic, you have to, depending on what country you go to, get others. I have no idea what all they've injected in my body. But I know when we would travel to certain countries, they would require certain things. And I'd have to go to my doctor and say, hey, I'm going to this country. I need this vaccine. Sometimes they'd have to order it. It was really weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I am weird. Have I mentioned that lately? So I'm still trying to figure out why I've got so many fans. I love you guys. You're great. By the way, I don't have the, I talked to a friend about this. I don't have the buy me a coffee thing because I don't drink coffee. But if you want to buy me a Mountain Dew, I put in my Cash App, my PayPal, my Venmo in there if you want to. So, Wendell, this map is for you. This is where the earthquakes are, with the most recent being in Chile, Puerto Rico, Nevada, and California. That looks to be pretty much it for the states. There's been nothing as major as the one that was on Friday in Asia. And they're now saying, remember, I said that number was going to grow. They're now saying it's over 10,000 people that may have perished in that earthquake. So our thoughts and prayers are with them. We look here. This is the global disaster alert. It just pretty much talks about the thing we talked about, the most recent quakes in Tonga, in an offshore, and then it goes back to all the way to Myanmar. I checked with my friend; he is okay, by the way. So, tropical clones Courtney and Diane. Let's see, is Diane the one? Oh, I clicked on it and it doesn't show it. Okay, nope, that is not the one. That is an older one. I got to go back. How do I go back? Go back. I was hoping it would show me what this was down here, but they haven't declared it anything. So far, we have Courtney and Diane. Courtney is spinning out in the Indian Ocean, doing no damage, and Diane is expected to come inland. Let's go back to that. Diane is expected to come inland. Let's read this report. Since we're so worried about it, it's supposed to come inland, and it will be... Nope. Go back. There we go. It's supposed to come inland and affect the coastline into the southwest. Let's see the impact area. And it will tell us impact. Tropical cyclone Diane has low humanitarian impact based on the maximum sustained winds, but it does look as though it will come inward. So keep an eye on that. Up to 7,300 people in the tropical storm strength or higher as it comes into Australia with Diane. It's not got a very tightly formed wind cone, and it's only going to be a tropical storm, but it doesn't look to be a very nice one. So keep your eye on Diane down there in Australia. We don't have anything new to report volcanic or drought-wise or forest fires. I almost pulled up the epidemic map to see if there was anything on it, but I did not. All right, so let's refresh this because we always want to go to the most recent region. And let's go to the United States of America. This is the usalivemap.com, where you can get news reports on things that are occurring in real time or pretty close to real time. Wow, Chris, look at that up there. Whew. All right, we'll start up in the Northeast, where they've had a fire reported in Warren, and a building was a total loss. We go down to, where is this? Lowell. What is that? That is in Massachusetts, and a electric scooter was on fire and is now out. Okay. All right. Well, that's good news that it's out. Police arrested a Skillendecky woman after she stabbed her son in the arm during a dispute Sunday night. That's not very nice of her. I'm not. Where is that? That is that Pennsylvania? I believe it's Cincinnati. I can't pronounce that city name. That's a United States city name I can't pronounce, but she stabbed her son. That's not very nice of her. We go over here, and there was a report of a dead body. That person was down and not breathing. That looks to be like that was in the Rochester region. All right. And we go to the coastline here. We'll see what's going on. Looks like in Bronx, they had a hazmat over on Webster Avenue at Fordham due to a lithium battery fire. That was reported 3 hours ago. Looks like, what is this? This is a bank robbery. No, U.S. economy faces, this was 7 hours ago. U.S. economy faces a growing risk of a recession as surging tariffs threaten to stunt growth, reignite inflation, and lift unemployment, according to Goldman Sachs. Wall Street banks warning that Sunday night they see a 35% chance of recession in the next 12 months from previously thought 20%. Okay. All right. This was 2 hours ago, Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. Officers arrived and observed a 65-year-old man with gunshot wounds to the leg and a 60-year-old man with gunshot wounds to the arm and abdomen. EMS responded and transported both victims to Brookdale University Hospital in stable condition. A third unidentified man sustained a gunshot wound to the chest and was pronounced deceased at the scene. There are no arrests and the investigation is ongoing. Wow. All right, we talked about that one. Jump down here to Staten. They have a fire on, what is that, Haven Street in All Hands. That was 4 hours ago. Go into Franklin. Was this New Jersey? But yeah. Police report a pilot of a plane en route from Princeton Airport to North Carolina died in a crash in Somerset County. That was 7 hours ago. Huh. All right. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Detectives are investigating a drive-by shooting in Northeast Philly where someone fired into a group of teenagers on Sunday night. A 15-year-old boy was wounded in a shooting and during a celebration on Temple University's campus 13 hours ago in Philadelphia. I guess it'd also be a good time. There is a thing going across the internet over the weekend. There's two things I wanted to look up, but one of them was, and I got an alert on it, and I normally get alerts for like things that are EMS related, but then I looked and there's a trend going across YouTube where they say that FBI is warning that people will have uniforms of firefighters and EMTs and possibly endanger hospitals or medical facilities. That was an old warning, but apparently there's been some recent concern over chatter, I'm using air quotes there, that they have received that they're going to have fake EMTs and firefighters that could possibly come into facilities. There was a warning sent out. It was an old warning from the FBI. I think it went back to early in the year. It was just a recontinuation of one from before, but the American Medical Association and the American Hospital Association felt the need to grow the threat level more and put out a warning, which got the conspiracy people going crazy on YouTube. But there is a possibility that something like that could occur. I don't want to downplay it, but I don't think it's as big of a thing as they're thinking about, because I think the FBI would have updated it instead of the AMA or AHA. All right. 2 hours ago, a man walked into the police station and confessed to killing his 87-year-old grandmother after lying in wait for her at her Potomac home. Where is this? That is in Maryland. All right. That's crazy. Over in Charlotte, a man who opened fire on his family, killing a woman and 3 of her children before turning the gun on himself, has died, according to the Broward County Sheriff's Office. Oh, goodness. 2 injured after a crash involving a security patrol in Northwest Charlotte. Let's zoom out a little bit here. I don't want to miss anything. We were still up here in Maryland and missed a few. What is this? Man was injured after a shooting in Glen, Bernie. Such gun violence. Police presence in crews setting up barricades outside Hartford County Circuit Courthouse ahead of the pretrial conference of Victor Martinez Hernandez. He is accused of raping and murdering Rachel Morin. His trial starts tomorrow. So they're putting up barriers and things there. Nice. We talked about that one. We'll hop inward. 2 injured overnight in Bethesda by gunfire. In D.C., a man shot near Howard University. D.C. police are investigating a shooting with an adult male transported with GSW, gunshot wound injuries. He's conscious and breathing, according to Howard police. And D.C. also had a fire 4 hours ago on Kendall Street Northeast. It was a fire that started in a basement and extended into a 3-story apartment complex. And 2 hours ago in D.C., they had a box alarm, 3500 Ames Street, a fire in a portion of an attic space. It's under control now. Go across the border. Oh, fights at Pentagon City lead to early morning closure. Yeah, that was crazy. They had a flash mob at Pentagon City Mall, and then fights broke out. And there's lots of video of it online. It was crazy. I actually used to work in that mall growing up. So, yeah. Homicide units are on scene investigating a fatal shooting in Clinton. This is back in Maryland. 33-year-old Donald Logan Coleman of Clinton, and a reward up to $25,000 is being offered for his. If they find them, well, let's find the bad guy. All right, let's continue. We talked about that. Let's go down here and see what's going on. We talked about Charlotte. And it's going over in Spartanburg. 1 dead, 4 injured in a crash. That was in Spartanburg, which is South Carolina. We'll go into Atlanta. We all will know there. Rockdale County, south of Atlanta, is investigating a deadly shooting in Conyers. That's not far from my home. Atlanta police say they're investigating a deadly shooting between a brother and a sister 3 hours ago. Over in Birmingham, a woman is struck and killed while walking on Fairfield Road. Let's hop up northward here. Doesn't look like Tennessee. We get at the borderline there, Kentucky. Gunfight at a Northwest bar, leaving 1 dead, 4 hospitalized. That's in What is that? That is in Hopkinsville, or south of Hopkins, west of Hopkinsville. That's not good. Let's see. 3 arrested following shots fired call in Evansville. A second teen dies following a rollover crash in Hardin County. Probably the first one. In Nelson County, a person has died in the floods brought on by Sunday night storm. Lexington Police reports that 4 people were injured in a 3-vehicle collision on Monday morning. This was just 2 hours ago on the outer loop of the New West Circle. Let's hope Amanda's okay. We'll slide westward here and see what's going on. A 19-year-old was killed, and this was on Shady Oaks Drive. And this is in, what is this? This is in Indianapolis. I was thinking about going up there to visit soon. We'll hop over here. This is a confirmed shooting. Was that Detroit? Yeah, there you go. Shocker. We'll go a little bit west there. 2-year-old girl, 4-year-old boy, and 11-year-old girl died after a tree fell in their car on East South Avenue, according to the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department. That was 2 hours ago. That's probably by these deadly winds. We see Chicago. Well, there's just plenty of gunfire there. Let's see. We talked about Indianapolis. We got Kentucky. St. Louis, there's another gun thing. Let's go down Texas. I didn't look at the storm. This is probably talking about tree down in Charlotte. These are all weather related, and we know that it's going to be bad to the northeast, down extending into the southeast. Even Baton Rouge. Let's see what they got down here. St. Peter's Catholic Church has been damaged in Louisiana. Hop over to Texas. That's an interesting. We don't see. They're investigating a burglary. This was 18 hours ago on North Freeway. There was a shooting in Austin. It happened on Harris Glen Drive and Howard Lane. And they're investigating a homicide in the 6400 block of Brancher Drive. That was just 2 hours ago. San Antonio, we got a lot going on. Man struck by a train, even after conductor's warnings. So I almost want to read that article. Gunfight erupts at a Northwest bar, leaving 1 dead, 4 hospitalized. That's in northwest San Antonio. Some advice: don't go to a bar and shoot people. What is this one? Shooting in what city is this? This is in. I'm having a hard time bringing it up. Where is this one? 23 people. Lubbock. 23 people in Lubbock area have been arrested and charged with trafficking meth and fentanyl within the Northern District of Texas. Great. Glad we caught them. All right. So that's just for a whole district. Goodness. Go over here to the west. We see some weather-related incidents. And in Las Vegas, 1 person is dead after a crash between 2 trucks on Boulder Highway. That was 2 hours ago. Down in Phoenix, the incident, according to Phoenix police, happened in the area of McDonald Road and 52nd Street during overnight hour. What were they called for? It doesn't say. Incident, just calling an incident in Phoenix, happened when officers were called to an area during the overnight investigation. So I don't know what happened in Phoenix. Check your local news. They'll tell you. Over on the West Coast, we see, what was this? Down, an elderly woman is dead after a fire broke out in Miramisa home near San Diego. Los Angeles has got a few fires. What's going on here? Lancaster, California, requesting emergency radio traffic. Ooh, suspects, this was 13 hours ago. Suspect was running towards 10th Street Southwest. Deputies in foot pursuit and 10th and K, detaining 1, which means code 4, situation under control. All right. And 9 hours ago, a small earthquake, 2.0. I say small because I've never really been in a major one, so I don't know. In California City, California, hopping up the coastline. See what this is. Adult was found deceased in a fire, and a second inside a home that escaped flames, and that is south of San Francisco, in San Jose. Sorry, that is in San Jose. Over in Stockton, family in Stockton. They're investigating the death of a child along Duport Drive. Continue to the west and see what's going on up here. And they're investigating a collision on West Seattle Bridge that was a fatality. All right. And I haven't been covering anything in Canada, or not Canada, but Alaska. But I know there was some activity up there. according to recent news articles. But that's kind of just a breakdown of the real-time news in the United States. Hope I got everybody's area covered, and I hope everybody's sticking with me. All right. This is the worldwide event list of things going on. We'll cover back to the weekend. We'll start at the top with biological. In India, over 510 pigs were killed due to African swine fever in Mizoram. All right, foot and mouth disease outbreak in South Africa. That is called biosecurity concerns. In Nigeria, they have had a diphtheria outbreak. In Australia, they're confirming 3 new measles cases over the weekend. And we know that the Texas, New Mexico area still continues to have measles cases break out. Haiti, well, basically you're under a curfew. In Liberia, a power outage disrupts operations at Roberts International Airport. If you're flying to Liberia today, there will be some delays. In Yemen, Houthi missiles hits container ships in the Red Sea, according to the Pentagon. All right. Well, that's an old story. Sorry. I should have seen that, but we know that there's still problems going on there. Let's see. Netherlands, a blast this month has hit Netherlands' largest shopping mall. It's a second one. Okay. And 2 found dead in Miami bus shooting. I didn't see that in the other one. Nigeria, 2 children killed, 20 injured in a stampede. We talked about the 4 people in the Austin club. The suspect is still at large. And tension in Nigeria. They allege that 20 cows were poisoned and 200 rustled. An explosion in India inside a mosque with 2 people killed. And then we talked about in Washington State, 2 people killed, 4 injured in a shooting at a house party. Wouldn't you think that families would be better than that? Guess not. Let's see how this is going to increase. In the United States, thousands march in Dallas to protest Trump's immigration policy. I was in Dallas. That occurred, actually occurring today. In Turkey, over the weekend, tens of thousands protested in Istanbul in arrest of Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. All right. Let's see. Terrorism. Israel, well, they fired missiles from Yemen and it's triggered sirens across Israel and Jerusalem. And of course, we know the war is ongoing there. And nothing new there. Czech Republic, a state of emergency is declared over a benzene spill. So if you're in Czech Republic. And United Kingdom is in a crisis with rats the size of cats affected by rubbish mountain. Okay, we got to pull this one out. This one has tweaked my curiosity. Birmingham's North Bend strike has resulted in rats the size of cats being attracted to the mountains of rubbish left on the streets. Residents have warned the 3-week-long industrial action stemming from a bitter dispute between the labor-run Birmingham City Council and Unite Union has left trash bags lining pavement and piling up outside homes, with the refuse collectors on strike. The problem has escalated, attacking swarms of rats, some reportedly large enough to terrify cats. According to one resident, I looked at the rat, and for a brief few seconds, I thought it was a cat, he told a reporter. Well, the strike is resulting in the rats growing to the size of cats because they're attracted to the mountains of rubbish that are left on the street after the 3-week-long incidents. The rats are terrifying cats in the area, and the cats are fleeing the area. All right. The piles are obstructing the pavement. An elderly lady had to walk on the roadway because of the trash, and she was terrified by what she thought was a large cat, which was a rat. B&W was damaged by rats gnawing through the wires. And where is that? I guess it's in the same city. Well, those rats are going to take over. The streets of your city are literally piled high in rubbish thanks to the Labour Council's focus on UK's Tory shadow ministers, according to Alex Burghart, the shadow cabinet officer. The longer the strike goes on, the more dangerous it will be. All right, well, so apparently in Birmingham in UK, There are cats that are terrified by rats. Seek shelter. That's new it on me. So, and go away, stream, whatever you are, Twitter, Twitch, whatever. Go away. Well, I'm not going to show your comment. Turkey, deadly explosion rocks Turkish plant. And Pakistan, a cylinder exploded, injuring 11, probably for heating. And Uzbekistan, gas explosion, and a mosque leaves 3 dead, 10 hospitalized. In UK, the Blackburn fire, a huge blaze breaks out near hospitals as locals reported hearing explosions. That was recent. Pakistan, massive fire near the Karachi oil refinery continues to rage. That's not good. Over the weekend in Malaysia, a hardware store, 6 eateries destroyed in fire. And over the weekend in Australia, fire destroys a building in Lismore. You see, there are multiple outdoor fires going from pretty much the Middle East to South America to the United States. In Finland, the avalanche threat is high. Okay. We talked about earthquakes. We talked about them affecting people. Volcanic activity. Well, Kilauea in the United States is active, and so is the Spur volcano. Okay, so over the weekend, there was a lot of volcanic activity for you, Wendell. And we see flooding still is continuing in Queensland, and they're airlifting residents to safety. That flooding is just horrible. That's still from the cyclone area. United States, 4 dead after a South Texas, Mexico border region is hundreds evacuated. That was from a tornado and the outbreak of weather over the weekend. Power outages are affecting Samoa, and Samoa has declared a state of emergency. And ice storms, have we discussed in the United States, across northern Michigan, have caused for major power outages. Let's see. South Africa, 2 construction workers were killed in a structural collapse. In Spain, 1 deadly blast in a coal mine. I don't seem to have any injuries listed. And let's see, 34 hospitalized in Nigeria due to heavy metal poison. We talked about that on Friday. And let's see, India, a flight makes an emergency landing after tie burst. And we're going to talk about an emergency flight over landing if we get time. In Norway, first orbital rocket launched from mainland crashes after takeoff. I did see that. And as we talked about, a small plane crashing into a home, sparking a large fire in Minneapolis. I think we talked about one in I was in the Northeast. Let's see. 9 dead in Nigeria after a lone crash. Australian residents have lucky escape after bus smashes into a Sydney home over the weekend. 2 children, 1 adult killed, 6 injured after a multi-vehicle crash in Brooklyn over the weekend. And in India over the weekend, a train derailed, but no injuries were reported. And a cruise ship in Germany is disabled after it collided with a barge in Germany. Interesting. The cyclonic activity, we talked about Courtney and Diane. And then they look at the drought areas. That's a broad area. And we look to the extreme rainfall, and we talked about all that earlier. It's in the storms. So let's see. Nothing new there. Lightning. Yeah, we talked about all that. Fog. We don't talk about fog often, but apparently it's a problem in China, Romania, Chile, Colombia, and Canada, and Asia pretty much. So the United States, we talked about that. Violent storms are bringing tornadoes, a golf ball sized hail from the Great Lakes to Texas. Yep. Flood alerts as tropical cyclone Diane has made windfall. We talked about that. Storms. Yeah, the Southeast, where I live. Yeah. Now let's see. Tennessee, Humphreys County, a tornado. And Michigan, Newaygo. And Missouri, Ripley had reports of tornadoes. All right. Let's see. We'll minimize this window. And we will go on. This is the New England Fire Alerts. This is a free service. You know, we brought up the fire alerts, Chris, and she starts. You may be onto something here. You might be onto something. All right, so this is the New England fire alerts, and we talk about a lot of these incidents. Yep, fire. You're right, fire again, and there she goes. I said the word fire, and yeah, let me log in here. Log in. Yes. Oh, Jesus, it is me. How can it not be me? But it's me. All right. So this is typically along the northeastern corridor, and these are people that listen to the scanner and report activity. We've probably already talked about a lot of these, but we'll hit them real quick. We'll start at the top. Boston, they have a fire on a 3-story brick structure, a hazmat, and that is in Rhode Island, Central Falls. Unknown type hazmat in a commercial structure. The hazmat team is on scene. That is recently, as of 2 hours ago. Wakefield, Mass. They had a fire on a 2-story and they got it under control. Wakefield, that's the same one we just talked about. Washington, D.C., this must be the one we talked about. A fire knocked down. They were overhauling and checking for injuries, and they didn't find anybody. That was the fire I think we talked about. They had 2 fires in D.C., so there you go. Manhattan, there was a robbery. We talked about that. An e-bike was taken and traveled in an unknown direction, unknown clothing. And Trenton, New Jersey, overnight, they had a second alarm for a heavy fire on the 2nd floor of a 2-story duplex. And let's see, this overnight in Hanson, they reported a wreck with entrapment and having a trauma code. A trauma code means that there's a person who's pinned and they have no signs of life, so they start CPR. Worcester, overnight, fire in the walls of the 2nd floor of a 3-story wood frame. Philadelphia, they had female victim, multiple stab wounds. We talked about that one, I believe. And a pedestrian struck in Hyattsville. Baltimore, well, they're always doing something there. They had a wreck with entrapment and requested the paramedics. And there's always something going on. In Annapolis, they had a second alarm fire for an occupied building. The reports of injuries there. And overnight in New Jersey, a second alarm transmitted for a basement fire. All right. And let's see. Third alarm. Where's this one? Brockton, Mass. A fully involved 2.5-story dwelling. Master streams, which means basically straight big lines off of the fire truck spraying water. All right. State rehab to the scene. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Bronx. Did we talk about this one? I don't know if we did. On scene of a male shot, and they requested the bus. That's us, EMS. We want the bus forthwith. I don't understand what that means. We go faster. Is there another mode to the red lights and siren? They get on the radio and say, we need the bus forthwith. We need it forthwith. Okay, we're still coming. Red lights and sirens. There it is, Chris. Mention it again. Fire, fire, fire. Just going to bark. All right, this is courtesy of our friends at Bitdefender. You can check this one out and see where the reds are attacks, oranges are infections, and the white are spam. And it appears that Asia and the Slavic region are just tearing America up right now. I wish I could zoom. Can I zoom in? No, I can't zoom in. But we can see that all of these are coming from, that's from the Ukraine area. These are from Asia. This is from the Middle East. And they're all aimed at, good old USA. This is a cyber threat, a real-time map. So there you go. You can go to Bitdefender and check this out. And it looks pretty much like a video game where they're sending stuff. But if you can read it fast enough down here, it'll tell you exactly where they're at and where they're coming. So like the most recent one from Romania, and it targeted the United States. And China, Canada, and let's see, Romania, Israel. Yeah, Israel. And they don't know where. China to Korea. Good Lord. We're getting must be like a Jedi Masters. Oh, well, I do have a picture where I was in my turnout gear and she was attacking me. Not in a mean way, but a playful way. Yeah, Chris says you must be Jedi Master training dogs with the hazards of fire. She is my little red hellhound, so I'll give you that. All right, so this is Sky Vector. This is going to show us no-fly zones, and the big blue boxes are what they call significant meteorological events. And we see up there in D.C., well, same thing as normal. Down in Miami, the president's home, pretty much same thing as normal. Off of the Cape Canaveral area, they've got an area sealed off for space operations, and they have a security event. Where is that? Zoom in here, that they've called for area of nobody to fly through. I can't see where that is. That looks like it is. Where is that? Well, it doesn't say the street names. I'm going to guess it's somewhere around Orlando. And they had an air sports show along the coastline. I'm going to guess it's somewhere in Orlando for security reasons. They don't want anybody flying through. Interesting. Hazardous area. It looks like it's also in Orlando region. So Orlando area region, don't fly your planes down there. Gulf Coast, of course, all this blue is from the thunderstorms, and they have certain areas where they're putting in no-fly areas. You see a lot of them for hazards. Yep, these are all probably weather hazards and no other type of hazards up in the Midwest. Doesn't look like there's anything new and crazy on this map except for the storms and that one security incident. Let's see what's going on up in Alaska. See if they still have the space event. No, they have a security event in Anchorage where there's an area of no-fly zone. Okay, so no space-related items in Alaska to report. Interesting. And we look across the globe and we can see if you're flying today along the East Coast, all the way up to the mid-Atlantic, out into our friendly friends at Greenland, you're going to have significant meteorological events, smooth sailing over the ocean until you come into Europe where there are some others. Down under, looks like if you're flying to Australia, you should be safe with no significant meteorological events, which means basically turbulence. So there you go. All right, so that should complete that map. And we'll go back to the few remaining articles we have. We'll go back to the Daily Wire, and the White House is now going to decide which reporters get briefing room seats. This came across through a lot of little media outlets to podcasters, because in a major break from tradition, the White House will now decide which reporters get the coveted seats in the briefing room. It's not always the White House Correspondents Association, according to Axios. The senior White House official told Axios that the communications staff has formalized a plan for fundamentally restructuring the briefing rooms based on metrics more reflective of how media is consumed. And along the podcast community that sent out a little bit of stir, could it be us? Well, they're going to include reporters from digital outlets, print outlets, TV, and more. The new digital outlet groups include new media. Well, that could be us, according to the Daily Wire and Axios itself. So they're looking for influencer. The goal isn't merely favorable coverage, the White House officials told Axios. It's an honest look at the consumption of how the outlet's coverage influencers are important, but it's tough because they aren't equipped to provide consistent coverage, so the ability to cover the White House is a part of the metrics. Legacy outlets have enjoyed up until now prominent visibility and easy access, according to the press secretary, and they should expect less prominence. We want to balance disruption with responsibility, according to the White House official. It's a move that many reporters in the briefing room have been hoping for since the beginning of President Trump's second administration, as journalists crowded into a small space and fought with the White House press secretary Karen Leavitt's fought for her attention. Very few reporters from right-leaning outlets currently have a seat in the room, with the exception of Fox News, the Daily Caller, and the New York Post. Reporters who do not have a seat stand in the aisles on the left or the right sides of the room, some arriving several hours early, and they have ladders. They have a place in the White House where the reporters will leave their ladders. My friend Penguin6 over on YouTube, Twitter, he was an ex-paramedic. He gets in that area, and they bring ladders into the room so they can get a better view. It's crazy. It's just a tiny room, and they pack these people in. Seating in the briefing room is formally controlled by the White House Correspondents Association, other known as we're going to go government acronym, WHCA. Well, they've decided reporters had pool rotations. They really need to do something because this is crazy, the amount of people packed in that room. When the White House announced in February it would take over pool rotations, the White House Correspondents Association President Eugene Daniels said that the move tears at the independence of free press in the United States and suggests the government will choose a journalist who cover the president. Well, either they need a bigger room. I don't know, one or the other, but it's a small, tight quarters. Check out my buddy on Penguin 6. You can often see him jamming himself into that pool. It's very tight. So the White House should abandon this wrong-headed effort and show the American people they're not afraid to explain their policies and field questions from independent media free from government control, according to the White House Association. Well, all right, but they're seeking to seize control of the system and put more independent press organizations within the pool. All right, well, that's going to be happening. Maybe Yerg's Radio can get somebody in the house. So millions of Americans, especially young Americans, have turned from traditional TV outlets and newspapers to consume their news. Well, that's why we're here. We read you the stories and sometimes tell you what's going on. Other independent outlets, she continues, it's essential that our team, that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt the White House policy to the new media landscape of 2025. Hey, if you guys grow me enough, maybe we can get a seat in the briefing room. What do you think? So the show's actually growing, and I appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the fans and appreciate all the love. This is an exclusive. We've got about 15 minutes left, so we'll speed this up a bit because we want to make sure that Yerg's Radio has time to air their hour-long program, which will also be on Radio X. We want to make sure to give them plenty of time. But this came out exclusive from the Daily Mail. Chris says, let me report this. Many of the same reporters wanted to keep their heads in the sand for the previous 4 years. I wonder what changed. Well, January, there was a wind blowing through D.C., according to the Daily Mail, Jeffrey, and what happened to this list? We were going to get the list. This is another one of the things that the Trump voters wanted was transparency. We wanted the list. And when they gave us the documents from the Kennedy assassination, they didn't give us nothing. So these are things that we wanted in this new wave. But anyhow, Jeffrey Epstein, sex trafficking victim, Virginia Giuffre, disturbing post on Instagram. They've given me 4 days to live. Virginia Giuffre, who was sex trafficked by Jerry Epstein, claims she was sexually assaulted as a teenager by Prince Andrew, says she has been given just 4 days to live after a car crash. Miss Giuffre is 41, shared a photograph of herself from a hospital bed covered in bruises, said she suffered in a smash with a speeding bus. Overnight on Sunday, the sex abuse survivor says she was struck by the bus, suffered kidney failure, and begged to see her children one last time before she dies. They've given me 4 days to live, according to the urology staff. Interesting. Yes, Chris, exactly. Same classification and cover-ups as before. I'm hoping we didn't get a bait and switch. So it is not known where the crash occurred, but she was supposedly struck by a school bus driver. Well, speeding as much as 110 kilometers struck her, and she says she has 4 days to live. So she's wanting her message out there, and that is exclusive to the Daily Mail. All right, what do we have over here? This story is came out breaking as we were coming on, talking about the NASA astronaut speaking out for the first time since being, quote, abandoned in space with a clear message to Trump. Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams have spoken out for the first time since they returned from their 9-month-long mission. They sat down with a joint interview on Fox, which airs today, where they said they do not see the mission as a failure, but that NASA, Boeing, and even the astronauts themselves had a role to play in its unexpected outcome. There are many questions that, as the commander of the flight crew, I didn't ask. So I am culpable, Wilmore stated. I admit that to the nation. There's things I did not ask that I should have asked. I didn't know that at the time that I needed to ask them, but in hindsight, the signals come. Some of the signals were there. Is Boeing to blame, he asked. Are they culpable? Sure. And NASA NASA is to blame. Are they culpable? Sure. Everybody has a piece in this because it did not come off. there were some shortcomings in tests and shortcomings in preparations that we did not foresee. He made this shocking admission that the Biden administration abandoned him. These are his words, abandoned him and his crewmates in space. I have no reason not to believe anything they say because they earned my trust, he said during a Fox interview, and for that I am grateful, adding that it's refreshing, empowering, and strengthening seeing national leaders taking an active role in NASA's human spaceflight program, which he described as globally significant. They were only supposed to be there for 8 days on the space station when they landed, but technical issues with the spacecraft left them stuck for more than 9 months. By the time they returned to Earth, they'd spent 288 days in space. They both said that they did not feel stranded or struck or abandoned on ISIS. They doubled down on these statements during the interview. Any of those adjectives very broad in their definition. So, okay, in certain aspects, we were stuck. In certain respects, maybe we were stranded. But based on how they were coaching this, that we were left and forgotten and all that, we were nowhere near any of all that. We didn't get to come home the way we planned. So in one definition, we were stuck. But in the big scheme of things, we weren't stuck. We were planned, trained for the event. When asked if he felt Boeing had failed them, he said, I wouldn't really characterize it as that. Both astronauts said Starliner uses highly advanced technology, and launching such a complex system comes with challenge. The spacecraft is pretty complicated in the way it's integrated with different types of system. This is the most robust spacecraft we have in the inventory. There's nothing that we can do, everything that Starliner can do. He said he does not want to point fingers at anyone who played a role in the significantly delayed return, but others have been pointing fingers in the last several months, including President Trump. Trump and Musk, a senior White House advisor, for February that the Biden administration left them stranded. Okay, and although Wilmore does not want to focus on who's to blame, he also said he trusts what the president and his advisors are saying. I have no reason not to believe anything they say because they've earned my trust, and for that I'm grateful, he said, adding that it is refreshing, empowering, and strengthening for national leaders to be involved in NASA. So they did credit the Trump administration for the safe return, but we do know that didn't make mainstream media. So, but they are home safely. We won't go into pretty much who brought them home, but I think everybody knows, and that is that. This article was kind of a human events article. Figure skater who lost both parents in the DC plane crash brings crowds, this is according to the AP, to its feet. Maxim Naum came to a stop in the middle of the ice, looked at the sky, and patted his heart. Then he mouthed a few words in Russian to his parents. This is for you guys. You guys are with me. I love you both. All right. Well, he brought the crowd to their feet, and there was a lot of tears when he did it. He walked through a hallway where they had a memorial set up for many of the people there that were planned to be at the event. They're forever in our heart. It's overwhelming, but my heart is full. So, all right, they have raised $1.2 million for the victims' families, speaking to reporters Sunday. So, yeah, Chris, you're right. Exactly. Same classifications and same cover-ups before. I'm really hoping that we are playing checkers, but I'm afraid that we may have got baited and switched. All right, so we're going to cover this real quick because we don't have but 10 minutes left before Yerg's Radio has their new news show. So everybody stay tuned to yergsradio.com and Rainbow Radio and Radio X in Australia for the new news segment from Yerg's Radio. All right, so Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson revealed that on a scary private plane incident, he could have resulted in could have blown up, could have been really bad. The 52-year-old WWE star, who was recently brought to tears, took to his X account on Saturday to open up about his traveling issues while heading from Hawaii to Texas to take part in the opening weekend of UFL's second season. The megastar owns a Gulfstream G650. It's a luxury high-performance private jet known for its long-range capabilities and comforts, and the plane is valued at $65 million. On his social media account, he wrote, "I'm here back home in Hawaii." He used to live in Georgia. Now he's in Hawaii. And I was scheduled right now to be in Houston right now. I was going to be on the field in Houston. Texas hyping up the crowd, getting them ready with the mania and electricity as we kicked off our United Football League. I didn't say fire. I said football. I was ready to go. Man, I was super pumped to get down there to Texas to rock and roll with all the players and coaches. I'm so bummed out for this. I can't be sorry. Went on to apologize. So, all right. So he didn't get there for his opening day. He said last night we had some issues with the plane about 35 to 40 minutes into the flight. The pilot came back to me. He sat on one knee. He face to face with me. It's just me on the plane, just me and the crew. He says, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to inform you, but we cannot continue to fly over the ocean. We have a problem. We have to turn the plane around and we have to land back in Hawaii. You have my word, you will land safely on the island. Rock made sure to give credit to his pilot for his demeanor in the moment and his safety first. He explained to me what happened and said it was a hydraulics issue that was overheating. He said there are some issues we can work out while we were in the air, and there are those that we cannot take a chance, especially over the ocean, when the computer of the plane is saying, don't fly, you've got to go back. All right, so had hit turbulence on the airplane. He asked himself, what is this and how do I check it out? But when the pilot come out and had the conversation, gets down on one knee, and then he goes back to the cockpit, the crew was amazing and got him safely back to Hawaii. So he did not make his opening event in Texas. He had to return home. So he's back home. He's there safe and sound. And he said that he realized this brought attention to him that shit doesn't matter when you're thinking and worry about it. I had one of those moments last night. Bottom line is I'm grateful to be back on the ground. I'm grateful to be back home in Hawaii, but I'm super bummed I couldn't be in Texas. So he said he appreciated the crew for getting him home and landing safely. So he had a real moment with God there in the air. Those are scary moments. All right. We'll cover some more articles real quickly. We've got about 10 minutes left, a little less than 10 minutes. U.S. medics are urging millions not to take medicine. Over-the-counter sleeping tablets relied on millions could dramatically increase, but they could dramatically increase dementia. All right. So Dr. Amy Shah employed her followers not to use products containing diphenhydramine, which is the new generic for Sudafed. These include over-the-counter medicines such as NyQuil, Boots Sleepies, and Pandol. And it's also been found of cough and cold flu products. And the well-known brands in the U.S. include Tylenol, PM, Unisom, and many allergy medications with Benadryl. She says that there's a growing concern that if you regularly take the drugs known as antichlorogenics, which diphenhydramine is, could be concerning for older Americans because it increases your dementia rate by 54%. So was the original Benadryl or the original Sudafed better, I wonder? No, because that made meth. So you couldn't have that one because that made meth. So they came out with a new Benadryl, which now is increasing the rate of possibility of getting dementia by 54%. So if you go look in your pharmacy counter, do not take medicines with diphenhydramine. And it's for, and I think I took one before coming on the air, to be quite honest with you, because of my allergies. So you're increasing your chance of dementia by up to 54%. It's a nice tall Panadol, and it's in Benadryl day and night. Yeah. So if you know someone who uses these regularly or use these products at all, please stop. All right. So, well, there you go. So if you have those drugs, it's an antihistamine or otherwise known as an antichlorogenic. Well, if you take them regularly, it could increase your dementia rate by 54%. This goes on to talk about dementia and other types of drugs and the signs of dementia. So you can check this out. This is on the Daily Mail. I don't want to go much further into it, but basically, if you got those medicines, stop taking them. They came up with those medicines because they wanted to take Benadryl or Sudafed off of the market because of meth. And that drug was supposed to be a synthetic version that was, quote, safe, that you didn't have to sign for. But if you took the original Sudafed, you had to sign for it and give an ID according to a law that Bush enacted. So there you go. Just a few minutes left. We'll just hit headlines. Trump confirms that he's having a meeting with Bill Maher. He says it might not be fun, or it might be. Who knows? He's also going to have this at the same time while Kid Rock and Dana White are there. And a new movie called Coyote versus Acme is been shelved by Warner Brothers, but it's been picked up by a new company, so we can look for that. I think we talked about that. And they're working out with Wile E. Coyote versus Acme. And they look for it to be released in 2026. I think we talked about that over the weekend. Jessica Simpson gives advice to singers to help their voice. I'm not making this headline up. This comes to us from a known reputable site, Drink Snake Sperm. Jessica Simpson made her she was trending for this, made her grand return to music earlier this year. To get her voice back in shape, she's been drinking snake sperm. In a new Instagram video, Simpson drinks a bottle of darkly colored liquid, the yellow label, while hanging out in the studio in Nashville. She told her coach was told by a Chinese herb, it's an herb thing, a Chinese herb doctor, to drink snake sperm. I swear I'm not making this up. You can Google this. She was trending for this. Jessica, we're going to go out with this story. Jessica Simpson drinking snake sperm. Oh, I will go out with this one, actually, because this affects me here where I'm at. Morgan Wallen walked off Saturday Live and said, "Get me back to God's country." He was on Saturday Night Live and ended awkwardly as the country star walked off stage during the show's closing credits without acknowledging any of the cast members. After host Mickey Madison wrapped up the event with thank yous, Wallen gave a brief nod before walking off the stage in front of the cameras, and cast members appeared confused. Shortly afterwards, Wallen posted his Instagram story while on a private jet, "Get me to God's country." It's unclear what drew his fire during his performances. Noticeably lukewarm reception just into the Saturday Night Live crew. We already had a competent history with Saturday Night Live, but it was initially canceled after some video surfaced of him using non-social distance parties. So yeah, he walked off the stage. Morgan Wallen did, from right where I am here in DC. Good God. Right where I'm at here in Tennessee, Morgan Wallen, one of the local heroes and country music stars, walked off the air. All right, everybody, much love to you. I'm going to get out of here on time so that Yerg's Radio can do their thing. But if you want to continue to follow me, come over to YouTube, like, follow, share, and subscribe on the Normal Guys with a Z. And I'm going to kill my Rainbow Radio X Australia feed here in just 1 second. But I want to thank all of you all for coming online and sharing part of your day or morning with me. And stay tuned for Ross stay tuned for Yergs over on yergsradio.com. All right, so I've killed the feed to Australia. Ross, it is all yours. I'm going to continue on for just a minute so I can go out to my music because I feel better about it. But we are now off the air with Yerg's Radio. We appreciate any of our followers or listeners that come over. Go over these headlines real quick. Rapper Young Scooter dies in a freak accident. Well, police were trying to detain him on his 39th birthday, but he fled out of the back door, and the rapper was later injured in the leg when he tried to jump a fence and attempting to flee. When officers rather knocked on the door, male opened the door and immediately shut the door, the Atlanta Police Lieutenant Andrew Smith said in a statement. During the process of establishing the perimeter, 2 males fled out of the rear of the house. One male returned back into the house. The other male jumped 2 fences as he was fleeing. When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. Just to be clear, the injury was sustained not via the officers on scene. It was when the male was fleeing. The rapper was taken to Grady Trauma Center, but he later died there. He was set. An autopsy will be performed, but from what I'm hearing from other sources, he ripped his pants and he ripped his femoral artery, and that's a major artery, and you will bleed out quickly. This comes to us from Breitbart. We'll hit this one real quick because we talked about this earlier last week. Satanist leader arrested after alleged physical altercation in Kansas State. Remember, they were going to have Black Mass. Well, they arrested the satanic leader after getting into a shoving match with another individual. The Satanic Grotto is described as an organization for Satanists and allies who follow the left-hand path. I don't know what that means, left-hand path. In a post from Catholic Vote, Stewart could be seen holding his arms up. Another person appears to be grabbing something out of his hand, and then there appears to be a fight ensuing, which led to his arrest. Roughly 20 people were on hand for the Black Mass, while between 300 and 400 were protesting. So they had more protesters than they had actual attendees. It was a tiny band of self-proclaimed Satanists. They were going to hold Black Mass in front of the Kansas State, and that inflamed Christians, and apparently 400 Christians came out and they got into a fight, and they arrested the leader of the Black Mass Satanist cult. Good times. So there was more people outside protesting than there were at the actual event. All right, we're not going to get into sports. There was a basket brawl that happened during the Pistons Timberwolves game. It got 7 people ejected, went into the crowds, went into the audience. You can watch the whole video online. It was quite ugly. There's concerns coming from New York, for those of you that follow baseball, about the Yankees and their new bats. Well, the Yankees' new bats have brought them 9 home runs so far this season, and it is making fans question what's so special about the bats. They were designed by Aaron Lehnert, a former physicist turned baseball coach. He's an ex-physicist professor who earned his doctorate at the MIT. Has been working with the team for over 6 years. He used to be the Yankees' assistant hitting coach before becoming an analyst, and now he recently moved to work for the rival team Miami. Posted that the bat with the torpedo barrel was designed to decrease misses by the hitter. The bat's barrel is thicker and wider than a standard baseball bat. The goal is to bring more wood and mass to the part of the bat that makes contact with the ball, so the hitters are less likely to miss. And they're concerned that they need to check out the bats because, well, Yankees have an advantage. Damn Yankees. Are the new bats allowed by the Major League? Well, they have been approved by MLB before being used according to Rule 3.02. Experimental bats can't be used until the manufacturer has secured approval. Also state that the baseball bats must be a solid piece of wood that is shorter than 42 inches and cannot have a diameter greater than 2.6. The Yankees bats are in accordance according to MLB officials, but there are some other questions that are being asked about the bats. So, all right, that's interesting. Top sports and scores. Well, I stopped following basketball after Tennessee lost to Houston 69-50. Auburn did win, so I wish them luck because I like Coach Pearl. But that was the only thing. Orioles, you're 2-2 there, Andy. The Braves, well, we suck as well. So, all right, I'm not going to go over all the sports because the few of you that are hanging on, I know, are not sports fans. But I didn't even have it on screen. I just had me on screen reaming. Yeah, what a dumbass. Good Lord. All right. Well, you heard me reading the headlines there. Yankees bats are bad. Satanists are arrested. And I can't. I got to go out of here with this on the screen. Jessica Simpson drinking snake sperm. Wrong one. Hit the wrong one, dummy. What? Snake sperm. I've got to do some more homework on this. But this is according to Jessica Simpson. She says, drink snake sperm. There you go. You heard it here. Jessica Simpson says, for your voice, drink snake sperm. Don't use Sudafed's new chemical one. Use snake sperm. All right, guys and gals, I love you. I appreciate all your support. If you want to buy me a Mountain Dew, I'll leave the links to all of that on the show description afterwards. You can catch me at most places at Sportcat or Sportcat Medic on most social media. If you want to shoot me a voicemail, go to I'm drawing a complete blank. It'll be posted in the comments afterwards. Go and leave me a voicemail there or shoot me an email at sportcat@protonmail.com. That's it. We're leaving with Jessica Simpson. I can't do much more than tell you to drink snake sperm for your voice. Everybody have a great day. I love and support you guys. I will see you tomorrow at 1:00 with the same daily Gazette that we have today. Until then, everybody stay safe and be weather aware. And drink. I got nothing. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day.